Welcome to Talent Talk, where we discuss topics which matter most to your personal and professional growth. Hi, I'm your host, Indu Agarwal, founder of Talent Grow Global. And today we have a special guest, Major General Neeraj Paliji, who will discuss with us his wealth of wisdom. He's an accomplished leader and he is an author of book, Winning Culture. So before I start any discussion, sir, I welcome you on behalf of our audience, on behalf of Talent Grow Global team for sparing your valuable time.
Thank you, Indu. Thank you very much.
So, sir, before I start asking you a few questions on time management, I would just like if you can give a brief introduction to our audience about you, your accomplishments, so that they can ignite a spark and they can really feel motivated and disciplined to do something great with their life.
All right. So I want to begin by telling everyone that we all start from somewhere. And it doesn't really matter where you are at the moment. What matters a lot is where you're going to end up and where do you plan to end up. When I was 16 is the time when I applied to join the army. I had never spoken a single sentence of English in my life. I came from a Punjabi medium school. I came from a middle class background, like all of us. And I had the exact same, in fact, I would say some of you may be having a more privileged background than I had. And I'm not talking just about me, I'm talking about most of the children who joined along with me. So we all start from somewhere. Now, I served in the army or I wore uniform for over 40 years, 40 years and 4 months to be precise. I served in all the borders, and I served in Kashmir. The army also gave me opportunity to study. I joined as a class 11 student, but I was made to do graduation. I subsequently did MSc and then I did MPhil. And then the army sent me to US to study. So there's a lot of studies that happen within the army. Uh, I also served for 3 years in a southern African country called Lesotho as the security advisor to the prime minister of that country. And I did an exercise with the US Army in the US. So there's a lot that happens in your life in the army, and I really don't want to cover it. And, I don't want to cover everything, of course. Besides, I taught in the Army War College, in the Infantry School, and the Defense Services Staff College. When I retired in 2016, I had a single point goal that I'm never going to retire. And that's exactly what I'm keeping up to date 8 years later. I've done a bunch of things, but I would name a few. I was CEO of a rural education society that ran 92 schools and colleges with 42,000 children. Later, I was CEO of an engineering company. I'm not an engineer, which the company did very well. And subsequently, I started an outfit of my own. I'm an advisor to a company which makes high tension cables. I am a teaching faculty of Institute for Comparative Intelligence Germany. I do their global workshops. And I am also a teaching faculty of School of Inspirational Leadership, Pune. And as of last week, I've been appointed as director of an army think tank called Gyan Chakra. Besides, as Indu has said, I wrote a book. The book's done well. It has surprised me. It has surprised my family. It has surprised my friends and surprised my children. So the book has been on Amazon's bestseller list continuously every single day for the last 5 months. And that's obviously made me very happy. Besides, I get invited to speak. I have spoken in the US, in Portugal, in Germany. I am Ahmedabad a couple of times, all the corporates, Accelerate, and so on. So life has given me a lot of blessings, a lot of opportunities to pack in these 66 years. That is my background.
Great, inspirational. So, how these virtues, discipline, time management, really helped you succeed and living a fulfilled life where you are not only doing good for yourself, your family, but you are doing a lot of good things for the society. Because, we keep hearing lot of stuff that time is money, don't waste time. और जैसे कबीर जी का दोहा भी है, काल करे सो आज कर, आज करे सो अब. पल में प्रलय होएगी, बहुरी करेगा कब. Still, I feel a lot of people, they struggle with it. So how you navigate it, and if you can give some insight to our audience.
Okay, let me start by firing your imagination, the imagination of the people listening to this, by telling you that when you are at your age, and I'm assuming you are literally at the start of a life, when you are at the start of your life, everyone hopes to be successful. I haven't come across a single human being who gets out of his bed in the morning and says, Prabhu ji, mera din kharab nikalna aur mujhe unsuccessful banana. Nobody says that. Okay. We are all hoping. Sometimes at your age, you're not clear where the success is going to be. You're not sure what you will become finally, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can't really see 30, 40 years ahead. I was going to be a doctor, for example, and I ended up a general. Now, we all hope in our 20s, even in our 30s, that we will conquer the world. We will be rich. We'll probably be famous. We will be cool. We will have great lives. We'll have all the goodies that we want to have. We all hope that. Here is my first lesson to you. Hope is not a plan. All right? Hope is not a plan. Dreaming is a good idea, but dream is not a plan. That's just a dream. That is just a fuzzy thinking. Imagine if the army was to say, we hope one day we will defeat Pakistan. We hope one day we will kill a terrorist. Nothing will happen, right? So the first thing you must learn is that while dreaming is a good idea, all this business of find your passion is a good idea, but you must have a plan. And you can't plan 10 years ahead. You must have a plan for tomorrow morning. You must have a plan for the next 1 hour. What are you going to do? Or are you just going to mindlessly sit and keep clicking, likes on Instagram? What are you going to do? That is what you'll become. Now, before I answer the question about time, I also want to talk about discipline for a little bit. It's not a boring subject. Discipline in the army or discipline in life is not marching left, right, left, saluting, standing straight. No, that's not discipline. That's part of it. There is a simple definition of discipline that I want you to remember. When you delay fun and do the hard work first, you're disciplined. Okay, let me repeat this. When you delay fun, when you delay gratification and do the hard stuff first, you're disciplined. The child who does his homework first and then goes out to play is disciplined. It's as simple as that. You don't need another formula for this. Okay. And if you really want to explore it further, go read a book called The Road Less Traveled by Scott M. Peck, which explains this phenomena beautifully. But just remember this: have fun later. Do have fun, but fun later. First, the tough part. Do the difficult part first. Now, about the time part. Look, we all have the same amount of time. Whether you are the Prime Minister, whether you are anyone else, you have the same 24 hours. And look at the people who pack so much into their 24 hours. Now, the matter is very simple. You got to respect time. If you're not respecting time, time is not going to respect you. After all, what is life made of? Time. Nothing else. Life is not made of cars and suits and clothes and, and social media. Life is made of time. You get up in the morning, magically your bag is full of 24 hours. And next morning, magically the last 24 hours are gone and the new 24 hours have come in. So respect time. How do you see this in the army? In the army, not a minute is wasted. When I was a cadet in the National Defense Academy, we used to have 2 events probably every month where you sat in a large auditorium, 1,500 cadets. We were not allowed to move, talk to each other, move our necks. We had to look straight, waiting for the commandant to come, the chief guest to come. And on the dais, there were 2 clocks. When the clock used to hit 6 o'clock, I'm not talking the minute hand, I'm talking about the second hand. That is the precise moment when somebody from behind used to say, "Gentlemen, please rise," the commandant. That commandant was not late by even 1 second for 3 years. Okay. I have not seen a function in the army start late. I have not seen a party start late. I've never seen guests coming late. So the simple rule you can learn today is that you are going to be in time. Soldiers say, half the battle is won if you show up in time because your enemy may not be there. So half the trick is to be in time. Do everything in time. Okay. So be punctual. Now, how do you do everything in time? Once again, there is a silver bullet answer. The silver bullet answer is do the hard thing first. Always do the hard thing first. Okay. You have 3 jobs to do and you say, oh, ये तो बहुत मुश्किल है, ये मैं कल इसको खोलूंगा, कल देखूंगा इसको, आराम से बैठ के करूंगा. That आराम is not going to happen. Pick that hard thing first. There is a book called Eat That Frog. Okay, the example is that if you are supposed to eat a frog, somebody says, eat a frog. You have 24 hours. It is best to eat it first thing because then the damn thing is over. So do the hard thing first. It'll give you power. It'll make you feel powerful. It'll make you psychologically strong. You will say, wow, I've already done it. Half the job is over. And if you can't tackle the job because there is not enough information, at least look at it. At least read it, scan it and say, oh, there is 20 pages to be read. Okay, I'm going to do this. So do the hard thing first. Your time will start taking care of itself. The trouble is we want to do the easy thing first. We want to write an essay. We first want to, sharpen 20 pencils. फिर उसके बाद शुरू करूंगा. वो कभी होगी वो शब्द खाली पेंसिल ही शार्पन होगी उस दिन और कुछ नहीं होगा. So do the hard thing first and be punctual, respect time. I assure you, you start doing this today, you're going to beat everybody else who's competing with you.
That's great. It's a fantastic book, Eat the Frog First, and it has really made a lot of transformation in my life too. So I agree with Major Bali sir that yes, do hard things first. So, sir, now when we look at the competing priorities when it comes to personal, professional life and pursuing hobbies, sometimes, I go to various schools, colleges, institutions, deal with educationists. So people find little difficult to find a balance between, kids now when they start studying, if they are preparing for NEET, they are preparing for IIT JEE, they're just studying. They forget the play. So how to balance the personal, professional hobbies so that we can live a very fulfilling life? You are not feeling, stressed, overstressed at the end of day.
Right. So here are a couple of hacks to deal with the problem of priority. Please remember that all of us are going to be showered with work. Okay, you're just starting out in life. When you become a CEO, you have 30 things happening and the phone is also ringing and somebody is also opening the door at the same time. So there are a lot of things happening all the time that you have to tackle. Is there a way to do it? The answer is absolutely. What is the way to do it? First, I'll give you a couple of simple formulas, but they're profound formulas. The first formula is that when you are faced with 3 or 4 jobs, do what is in your long-term good. Take that job first. Okay, because life is long term. Life is not short term. And I'll tell you what is the exception to that rule. But by and large, when you have 3 things and all are equally urgent or not urgent, all are equally pressing, do what is in your long-term good first. What is in your long-term good out of taking care of your health, going to the gym, or also doing this or also doing that? You will get the answer. On every single time, you'll get the answer. The second thing is, do that first, which is hard and which will embarrass you if you don't do it in time. What will embarrass you the most? We tend to put that off because it is hard. But if something is going to embarrass you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, your boss is going to ask you for something, and that is what you're putting off, I'm afraid you're going to get into trouble. Okay? So remember these 2 things. Do what is in your long-term good and do what is going to embarrass you first and prioritize accordingly. But that's not all. See, as there is a thing called Eisenhower matrix, you can divide your activities into 4 parts. The first quadrant is things which are very urgent and very important. You have no choice. There's no time management required for those. Okay, you got an exam tomorrow morning. There's an audit of the company. Okay, your child is crossing the road and a truck is coming. It's important, it's urgent. You don't require a planner for that. So forget that. Then there is second quadrant, which says things that are not important but urgent. Your phone is ringing. Somebody stands in front of you and starts gossiping. Okay, you can't avoid it, but it's not important. It is not going to contribute to your long-term growth. That is the formula. So you got to try to avoid that. You got to delegate it, or you got to get away from there somehow. Third quadrant is, or fourth quadrant is, I'll come to the second one. The fourth quadrant is things which are neither important nor urgent. That, my dear friends, is the problem. That is where you're spending your time. Okay? When people talk to me or people like me, they say, how do you do so much? Other than all of this that I'm talking about, I'm also learning Spanish and German. I'm also a certified life coach and a leadership coach. I'm also an ISO auditor. I've also qualified the Ministry of Corporate Affairs exam for becoming an independent director. All this in the last couple of years. People say, how do you have so much time? And I ask them, let's audit your time. How much time do you spend looking at that wonderful gizmo called mobile phone, or on the screen looking at Instagram, WhatsApp, or YouTube, and so on and so forth? You will be surprised. Every time I have a gathering of young people like you, I say, how much time do you spend? And people are very honest. They say, sir, 3 to 4 hours. If you install an app called Stay Free, it's a free app on your mobile, it'll tell you precisely how much time you spend. And I challenge you, the bulk of you are spending 5 to 6 hours. Now, if you have got 5 to 6 hours time to spend on an activity which is never going to give you even 1 rupee in life, then what right have you got to ask me, where is your time? Where are you getting time? You have got to control that part. So I read a book called Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. And after I read that, I realized you really are wasting time, aren't you? I deactivated Facebook, Instagram, I deactivated Twitter. And I said, let me see how much I'm going to miss these things. The answer is none. I'm not missing it except for the fun, except for looking strangers' pictures and putting likes and waiting for my own likes. So if you're going to do that in your life, if you're going to carry on doing social media, I'm not saying leave all social media, but if you're going to look at social media for 3 to 4 to 5 hours, then what we're talking is just entertainment. It's not going to work in your life. But you want to be inspired, stay away from this. You have time. You're not using it well. That is the key problem. And once you have time, you will realize. But before you deactivate any of this, or you don't start using it less, there is a little secret. You also have to decide, what will I do at that time? Okay. So if you leave Instagram and your habit was, let's say, come from school or college and first open the thing and start looking Instagram pictures, then Facebook, then Twitter. Then when you stop doing this, you'll have a withdrawal symptom. You'll wonder, what should I do? And you'll again start going there. Stop. First ask yourself, what am I going to do at that time? It's far better to sleep. It's far better to take a walk. It's far better to listen to a nice podcast. It's far better to read a book. So please control that time and do what is in your long-term good. You're going to win.
Very true. I agree with sir that discipline in handling social media plays a very big role, and that saves a lot of time. Sir, like you have served for 40 years, 4 months in army, and the principles of teamwork, collaboration really matters a lot. And how these capabilities, of teamwork and collaboration enhance the productivity, because these days, because of too much engagement in social media, sometimes when I meet young professionals, students, they are unable to connect well with each other, so that social engagement is missing, real, deep relationships are missing. So what advice you would like to give on that?
Right. So if you talk about the team building and teamwork, as you know, in the army, nobody can succeed without a team. The first thing you must realize is that being a good team member, or cooperating with others, or collaborating with others, is not some jalebi type of sentiment ke sunne mein acha lagta hai, meetha lagta hai. The way we middle class people talk, we say a lot of things we don't mean. सबसे बना के रखनी चाहिए जी, सोसाइटी में ऐसा रहना चाहिए. I'm not talking about that part. What I'm saying is it's a win-win for you. It's a practical thing for you to be a team player. And I'll explain to you why. First thing I want to ask you is who are you competing with? If you are competing with the bloke who's sitting next to you in the next cubicle or on the next desk, then bhaiya, that is your sphere of influence. तुम उतना ही succeed करोगे. You'll end up beating one guy, maybe. Okay? You are competing with the best in the world today. Because of globalization, you are competing with kids in China. You're competing with entrepreneurs coming out of China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Latin America, God knows where all. If you're going to limit yourself by doing this very silly competition with your team members, just imagine where will you land up. It is like saying Indian Army, each battalion should compete with other battalion and kill each other. So the first thing you must remember is it is a misplaced competition that is a burden. ये फालतू का सीमेंट का बोरी आप माइंड पे लेके चलते हो कि पड़ोसी क्या कर रहा है. और अगर आपको पता है अगर आपने जिंदगी की रेस में जीतना है तो सिर के ऊपर 10 किलो का सीमेंट का बोरी नहीं हो सकता. You got to throw it off. You got to stop looking at competing with your friends, your colleagues, others. You got to compete with the world. And you can't beat the world, you can't compete with the world unless there are other people collaborating with you who are taking care of your weaknesses and using your strengths. We all have to work together. Okay? I'll give you another example. Who does marketing in a company? So when this question is asked, people say, so the marketing manager. Wrong. Who builds the brand in the company? You know who builds the brand in the company? Everybody. So when a new client comes and he comes to the reception and the girl sitting on reception ignores him or says, I don't know who you want to meet, please sit down on that sofa, I'll just call you, and forgets about him for next 45 minutes, the client is lost. The brand is gone. Okay? You may be the most well-meaning marketing manager, but somebody is letting you down. So we all have to work. They say you can't whistle a symphony. You have to play it like an orchestra. Everybody has to play like an orchestra. Now the question is, why should you do it? That's the question. The first answer is because it will take away a lot of burden from your head. You say, I'm not competing with anybody. I'm just going to competing with myself. I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to help everyone. Secondly, if you don't collaborate and you don't cooperate and you don't get information, do you think somebody else will collaborate with you? Do you think somebody else will cooperate with you? No. Do you think somebody else will follow you? Will you follow a selfish guy? Somebody who doesn't look at you the day you're in trouble? Somebody who doesn't want to help you? Doesn't give you a hand? Will you follow that guy? If you won't follow that guy, my friends, they will not follow you either. So this is in your good. How can you become a role model in life when there is nobody to follow you? How can you become a leader when there's nobody to follow you? So the only way to become a leader, the only way to have followers is when you collaborate and cooperate. You've seen these IPL matches, you've seen the Indian team play. It's not like Virat Kohli says, I'm going to score 100, then I'm going to sit in the pavilion. I don't care what others do. He's standing on the boundary. He's doing his damnedest to take catches. He's running around like a rabbit or like a hare. Okay? So you got to cooperate. That's how you build teams. You can't succeed alone. Please remember that.
Agreed, sir. Really, teamwork makes dream work. And as you rightly said, who builds a brand? Everyone in an organization builds a brand. And sir, like out of your army experience, you must have seen quick thinking, adaptability. Again, that plays a very big role in time management. So when it comes to decision making, like we always hear that a lot of analysis leads to paralysis. But sometimes people are unable to decide, they don't know, they are overthinking, they are not quick thinkers, good decision makers, and lack adaptability. Sometimes they feel, oh, I'm like this. So what message you would like to give on this?
Sure. So please remember that life is going to throw a lot of challenges at you and you'll have to take a lot of decisions. Life is meant to be difficult. So stop imagining and stop moaning that why is my life so hard? I see other people, their lives are good. No, nobody's life is good. Everyone's having a tough time. Life is going to be difficult. You will have to make a lot of decisions. The first thing, please remember that the more great habits you have, the easier it is to lead life. People who have to get up every morning and take 50 decisions about मैं कौन से कपड़े पहनूं, मैं पहले जाऊं कि बाद में जाऊं, पहले ब्रेकफास्ट करूं या पहले तैयार हो जाऊं. They are tired by the time it is 10 o'clock. Why are you exhausting the RAM of your mind taking decisions which can be habits? In the army, everything is a habit, everything is a process. What is habit for individuals is process for companies. So when you have great processes and great values, that I will never violate this value. ये तो मैं कभी करूंगा ही नहीं. Then when the time comes to take a decision, it's so much easier because some things are already taken care of by your mind. All you have to do now is to deal with the new reality, the new issue which is coming up. But if you are a mess inside, you have no habits, you have no process, you have no values, somebody offers you a bribe, suddenly you go to pieces. You don't know what to do because you don't have a value. Okay. So first of all, have some values, have some cast iron habits. Now, when it comes to decision making, there are three elements of decision making, and the most important one will surprise you. The first is you need to have information. Please remember, you will never have enough information. So don't keep waiting till the next century. कि मेरे पास पूरी अभी information है नहीं है. Did you have enough information when you had to join a college? You couldn't have decided which college to join because you only know about these 5 things and you have to take a call. Okay. Similarly, you will never have adequate information when you think enough information, take the courage and make a decision. Second is timings. Timing is important. You can't keep delaying taking decisions. It is like trying to cross a road, coming in the center and saying, I don't know whether it's safe to go left or right. I will not make a decision. Well, that's also a decision. Not making a decision is a decision. So that decision will ensure that you will be hit by trucks from both sides. Okay, because you decided not to decide. So make a decision in time. The third element is the most important one, which you have to learn from the army. Every decision will lead to an outcome. Most people don't decide because they are scared of the outcome. They say, if I do this and it goes wrong, then what will happen? What will people say? What will my boss say? He will get angry if things go wrong. Sure, he'll get angry, but that's all he will do. But he'll definitely fire you if you don't take a decision. So all you need to do is have the courage to say, okay, I have the information, time is right, I am deciding, to hell with it. Whatever happens, I will stand by it. Doesn't matter. I will treat it as a lesson, but I will stand by it. You'll become decisive. And no one is going to follow you in your company if you're not decisive. People hate leaders, who go to pieces every time a decision is to be made. So have the courage and say, I'll take the consequences. Learn to live with the decisions you make, and you'll be decisive. That's the mantra.
Very true. And you very rightly said, sir, सबसे बड़ा रोग क्या कहेंगे लोग. So that keeps you hesitant to make decisions, but that is a big time waster. Because if we make take decision, if it is wrong and if we are quick thinker, we can quickly navigate and adapt. So I agree with you. So, sir, lastly, I would just like you to share some experience, anecdote from your life, where you really felt that these virtue, time management, discipline, really played a very big role for great success in your life.
Okay, so let me just say 2 things quick. One is when I went for the interview to join the army, as told you, I was 16 years of age. I went to Roorkee, and when the interview began, the officer was a colonel who was asking questions in English, and I started replying in English for the first ever time. And after a few questions, he said, your background says that you not speak English at home or in the school. So how are you able to speak? So I said, today is the first day I'm speaking. He said, I can make that out. Not because you are speaking bad English, You are speaking grammatically perfect English. So I'm surprised. It is bookish. How are you speaking like that? So I said, sir, I read books. He said, really? You read English books? Since when? So I said, 13th of July, 1972. He said, how do you know the date? I said, because I have a diary. I maintain a diary every single day. And he said, really? So that's 2 years ago. How many books have you read in 2 years? I said, 78. He thought I was fibbing. So he said, oh, really? 78. Very good. So now you've come to Roorkee from Chandigarh. How many? You must have brought a book with you to read. I said, I brought three. He said, really? Tell me the names. I told him the names. Long story short, I think I got selected right there. He decided that here is a kid who's wanting to improve his life. He's a guy of habits. He writes a diary. He's trying to learn. He's just too shy to speak. He doesn't have anyone to speak in English in, but he's going to pick up. And as you can see, I have picked up. So that is one little story of from my childhood that I remember. The second story is far more inspiring. It's not my story, though I am in the story. It's about leadership. And this will teach you the most important lesson of leadership, the only lesson you need to learn. This happened in 1997, 4th of June. I was in Kashmir. I was a colonel. We were going on a kacha track in vehicles. Militants had put a lot of explosives under the road. It's called improvised explosive device. They blow it up using a remote device. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. 10 minutes behind me was a second vehicle which got blown. There was so much explosive that the gadda, the crater, was 8 foot deep. And the vehicle went up above the eucalyptus trees, took 2 turns, smashed against the road, and it immediately killed one major and 2 jawans. It also badly injured one young lieutenant, 20 years of age, and 2 jawans who were caught in that steel. And militants started firing on that vehicle to kill everybody else. When we heard the bang, we turned around. But then people said, "Gaadi mein mat jao, aur bhi barud laga hoga, to pedal." So we carried our AK-47s and we started running towards the firing. As we were running, there was a major, an officer running next to me. I was a colonel. He looked at me and he saw that on my collars in the uniform, you wear a red colored thing here. Army officers, colonels and above wear a red color thing on the collar. It's called collar dog. It is not supposed to be worn in battle because the enemy will then spot you as the commander. I was wearing it because I'd just become a CO and I was still feeling like a new Dullah wearing Dullah ki dress. So this major said, "Sir, you're not supposed to wear this. You'll get shot now. You got to take this off." And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it off." But my mind was full of many things. People were dying. And so I was still running. Running next to me was a barber, army barber in uniform carrying an AK-47. His name was Rooplal. He stopped me. He said, "Sir, I have to say something to you." I said, "Yeah." He said, "ये जो आप लाल लाल लगा के घूमते हो ना, ये को बहादुरी थोड़ा है सर, ये तो रूल में भी नहीं है, पता नहीं क्यों लगाते हो आप." तो मैंने कहा, "हाँ, मैं समझ गया." कहते, "सर, अभी देखो आपको गोली लग जाएगी, अभी भगदड़ मच जाएगी." मैंने कहा, "मैं समझ गया, मैं उसको उतारने वाला हूँ." कहते, "सर, ये मेरी सलाह नहीं थी, मेरी सलाह थी आपको पहनना नहीं चाहिए था। मेरी सलाह ये है सर, चाहे आपकी जान चली जाए, इसको आज मत उतारना। चाहे आपको गोली लग जाए, अगले 3 महीने मत उतारना। पता क्यों सर? आप लीडर हो, सब जवान आपकी तरफ देखते हैं, आप उदाहरण सेट करते हो। लोगों को ये नहीं लगना चाहिए कि 2-3 बंदे मरते हैं और हमारा सीओ घबरा जाता है। आपने तो सर उदाहरण देना है। कैन यू थिंक ऑफ अ मोर फैबुलस लीडरशिप एडवाइस दैट यू कैन ओनली लीड पीपल बाय एग्जाम्पल? In the army, even a barber understands this. And outside, we think we'll say sweet words, we will good talk, and people will follow us. I laugh when I hear CEOs and MDs standing on the stage and saying, "We are a family, come to me," and nobody comes to them because your example is not of a family. So please set an example. And just as a aside, I didn't take off those red collar dogs, not for that day, not for 3 months, not for 3 years. And people used to ask me, "तो ये क्या पहन के घूमता है?" मैंने कहा, "मेरे बार्बर ने सलाह दी है, कोई मुहूर्त निकलेगा तब उतारूंगा इसको मैं." So you've got to set an example. That's the second story I wanted to tell you.
Thank you so much for your valuable time. And I'm sure this must have ignited spark in our audience. And be with us on Talent Talk. And sir, we will invite you again for sharing your a wealth of wisdom. And thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Indu. The pleasure is all mine.